She got pregnant and everything changed. If you're in your 20s right now and you're listening to this, stop thinking you've got unlimited time. Stop doing it. You don't have unlimited time. You think it's harmless to keep chasing women and wasting money and avoiding responsibility. But one day, you'll wake up and you'll realize you've got no leverage. You've got no power, absolutely no clarity, and no way to get those years back. One day you will wake up and you will be 40. You will be stuck working a job that you hate with nothing to show for it except memories that don't even matter. Every hour you waste now is a debt you're going to have to pay later. 30s were a nightmare. I was broke, I was depressed, I was isolated. Now I'm 40, I hate my job, but it's not just that, I'm disillusioned by the world. Once you see how everything really works, how broken it all is, you cannot unsee it. Everything feels fake. The economy is a scam. Inflation is gutting families. People are more isolated than ever before. No one's honest. No one's fulfilled. And there's a deep apathy baked into everything now.
Even myself, when I was a teenager, I was wild. When I say wild, I wasn't a kid that would get in legal trouble. I wasn't stealing or robbing or sticking people up or committing crimes or felonies or anything. When I say I was wild, I mean, all I cared about was what he was talking about in this video, if you know what I mean, just chasing women. And then one day I had a wake-up call. So something happened to me in my life where it kind of jolted me out of my drifting and caused me to evaluate life and approach it much more intentionally.
I'm 40. And I wasted my life. I've got nothing to show for it. No house, no savings, no career that I'm proud of. I'm pouring everything that I have into this channel because I've got nothing else. And if you're in your 20s or even your early 30s and you think you've got time, I'm telling you right now, you don't. I wish I had someone in my life when I was younger, someone who actually cared enough about me and was smart enough to show me how life really worked, how women really operated, and what I actually needed to focus on. I didn't have that. I was getting all of my ideas about love and success and women from movies and idiots my own age who didn't know anything at all. So there was no sense of urgency, no perspective, just vibes and dumb plans. And this fantasy that everything would somehow work itself out. And it didn't. In my 20s, I thought I was, super deep and cool. And, because I had tattoos and, I knew some obscure bands and played drums. And I thought being different was a personality. I wasn't building anything real. I was just chasing sex and novelty, hooking up with women because I was addicted to the high, not the connection, just the rush. I spent more time crushing on church girls who didn't like me and hanging out at coffee shops and smoking cigarettes, drinking lattes and, going to hardcore shows. I did more of that than I did doing anything that would help me long term. At 23, I was playing ding dong ditch with my friends.
Playing ding dong ditch at 23 is crazy work. I will say that. He's saying a lot here, so I had to pause the video because he started off, I thought he was going to go one way and now he's starting to deviate. But I think I can see the connection because at first he was saying he doesn't have a house to call his own, a career that he is proud of, or any savings. And okay, it's all financial. And then he started talking about his situations with relationships. But I see how they connect because he's basically saying instead of putting time and energy and focus into building himself up to become successful, whether that's financially, otherwise, he pretty much put his attention and energy into chasing skirts, is what it sounds like. And so this is a warning to younger men, not that 40 is that old. And honestly, I think a lot of people, and especially men, can relate to what he's saying in that sense, that especially when we're younger, we spend a lot of our time, I'll speak for myself and for some people I know, using a lot of our energy to chase, chase women, essentially, chase girls when we were that age and now older women. And it can definitely be a distraction.
Like I was 13 again, thinking it was hilarious, which it was, but fun times. But I wasted so many hours just trying to get, validation from people who didn't care if I lived or died. at the end of the day. I thought my
You play ding dong dish now, you might end up in a body bag, unfortunately, but let's continue.
life was meaningful because it looked cool in photos, looked cool on MySpace. But, all I was doing was burning through the most valuable years of my life. The years where I had the most energy, the most flexibility, and the most time to build something meaningful. Nobody told me I was wasting it. Nobody. And when the world sees you drifting, it doesn't intervene. It just keeps feeding you distraction after distraction, lie after lie, while profiting off of your blindness and ignorance. And then fast forward into my late 20s, then I got into a relationship that wrecked my life.
Before we get into this, I want to say that we all need to take accountability. There is a certain point about, okay, we need to be taught certain things, and depending on where we were raised at and who we were raised by is going to strongly dictate and have a big influence on who we become and what choices we make in life. But we have to have accountability in our actions, especially when we live in places like we live in. As far as the United States, information is available to us. We can't blame other people. So I'll just say that. I'm not saying he's doing that, but we can't blame other people. By the way, he said drifting. There's a book. I have not read it yet. I need to read it. It's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And I believe that one of the main premises of that book is that there are non-drifters and there are drifters. And those who are drifters are influenced and they don't reach their full potential because of fear, because of outside forces such as chasing whatever you like, partying, hedonistic pleasures because of fear or self-doubt. And there are non-drifters who intentionally seek out their better version of their self in life. And so when he said that drifting part, it really made me think about that. I need to check that book out. But let's continue.
She got pregnant and everything changed. And I love my son. I would never undo that. But that relationship, it was a disaster. I did not know how to choose wisely at all. I confused chaos and passion and intensity with love because no one ever taught me the difference. I thought it was normal for things to be dramatic and unpredictable. I thought that meant we were meant to be or something. I don't know. But I don't know what was going on, but instead I ended up in family court fighting for time with my own son, treated like an intruder and a criminal for wanting to be a father. And then in my 30s weren't the best years of my life. You hear that a lot. Your 30s will be the best years of your life, 30s and 40s. 30s were a nightmare. I was broke. I was depressed. I was isolated, missing my son constantly, and dealing with games and lies and schemes my ex would pull to destroy the bond between me and my son. I wasn't just dealing with grief. I was dealing with a system that didn't care if I disappeared. And yeah, a few times I, in the midst of all that, tried to date again. I finally started to see what I'd been blind to in my 20s. I was no longer that 27-year-old stuck in a 500 days of summer mindset, falling for manic pixie dream girls, just because they liked the shins too. Now I saw the red flags clearly. Girls with baby rabies, daddy issues, manipulation, all of it. I could spot it instantly. I was like a bloodhound for that kind of thing. It's easy to detect now. That's the part that stings the most. Now I'm 40. I hate my job, but it's not just that. I'm disillusioned by the world. Once you see how everything really works, how broken it all is, you cannot unsee it. Everything feels fake. The economy is a scam. Inflation is gutting families. People are more isolated than ever before. No one's honest. No one's fulfilled. And there's a deep apathy baked into everything now. That's why I'm here. This isn't a content hobby for me. This is me refusing to stay.
He's the type of guy who's a helpless romantic, and he is high in the need for emotional. He's a high emotional variation is what it sounds like. And so people like that, and I'm that kind of guy who also has like a lot of emotional variance. I'm not manic or like bipolar or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with people like that. I'm just want to make a distinction between what I'm trying to say. There's some people who they seem like they're like this all the time. Very stoic, level, and kind of pragmatic. They see the world for kind of how it is in a sense, I think. And when I say how it is, I don't mean like idealistically. I mean very grounded. Versus some people who I include myself in this category are more we experience more emotional variance. Not to say we're like super high and low all the time, but you know, we're not so much like this. It could be more of like a little mini roller coaster. And I think people like that, like him and like myself, I don't know for sure, but I'm including him in this. If things don't go a certain way, we can tend to have a more negative outlook on things. Like he said, the world's in shambles and everyone's being gutted and, you know, the system is effed. And not really. Life has never really been peaches and roses throughout history, no matter where you're from, what you look like even, or what time and place you were born. It's never been easy. Life is laboring, it's work, it's boredom, it's it's kind of, even people who I know who have the most successful relationships that are long lasting, you would look at them and go, man, they must be so bored. But really, they just understand that being with someone is not about having fun. It's about duty, it's about respect, it's about other things. Like he said, he was caught up in this 500 Days of Summer mindset, right? These coming of age, these rom-com type relationships, which they're fun for a short time, but then you get in the situation that he's in. And so he was in his 20s, it sounds like, when he had his son and went through the family court system, which I don't wish on anybody, man or woman, if you're on the wrong side of it. And so for that reason, he's a bit scorned and a bit, I don't know, jaded by it, is what it sounds like to me.
Silent. This is me using what I have left to build something real, because the clock is ticking. And also, if I die before I can tell my son any of this, before he can know, I mean, he's almost 11, but I want my son to know that his dad didn't just give up, that I fought very hard and went through a lot, and that I bled in silence, that I fought to stay in his life tooth and nail. I fought to become something that he could be proud of. And I fought against a system that was way bigger than myself, that tried to break me. And so this channel, Dad Mode and Dark Mode, is part of that fight. It's my record. It's my time capsule, my legacy. It's my proof that I didn't just drift off into silence and was just passive. And I hope one day when he's ready, he'll understand all of this. And so, you know, if you're in your 20s right now and you're listening to this, stop thinking you've got unlimited time. Stop doing it. You don't have unlimited time. You think it's harmless to keep chasing women and wasting money and avoiding responsibility. But one day, you'll wake up and you'll realize you've got no leverage. You've got no power, absolutely no clarity, and no way to get those years back. One day you will wake up and you will be 40. You will be stuck working a job that you hate with nothing to show for it except memories that don't even matter, that you constantly think about, and it leaves you with no air in your lungs. This pain, you know it. You know what that pain is when you think about, you know, what once was. But yet every hour you waste now is a debt you're going to have to pay later. You should be building something. Skills, discipline, financial stability, wisdom, a backbone.
This clip is off of TikTok. There's a longer version on YouTube. I'll see if I can find his channel. I think he said Dark Mode, Dad Mode, or the reverse of that. Listen, overall, I'm going to say that what he's saying is true. Now, all the specifics of his personal life are his, and there are plenty of people, men and women, but a lot of men, of course, when it comes to the family court system, just because of how it's set up, have gone through or are going through what he's going through. Very true. As Warren Buffett said, and a lot of other people who are very successful said, the most important decision you're going to make is who you decide to marry, or in this case, have kids with. Something to keep in mind. Overall, I agree with him 100%. I think that 20s and 30s as a man or a woman, but especially, you know, as a man, I'd say, are meant to be building, are meant to be working towards a goal, towards purpose, towards creating the best version of yourself, as opposed to chasing hedonistic pleasures. I will say that for sure. And I will say that although at 40, you're still fairly young, I don't know if he's exactly 40 or 45 or whatever, but it's not too late at all by any means. But yes, the earlier the better. That's with a lot of things. The earlier you can start investing in the stock market, the better. The earlier you can, you know, get your degree, if that's what you're going to do, the better. The earlier that you can find the right person that you want to be with, the better, if that's what you want to do. So yeah, a lot of times the sooner the better. But sometimes it does take someone, because even myself, when I was a teenager, I was wild. When I say wild, I wasn't a kid that would get in legal trouble. I wasn't stealing or robbing or sticking people up or committing crimes or felonies or anything. When I say I was wild, I mean, all I cared about was what he was talking about in this video, if you know what I mean. Just chasing women. And then one day I had a wake up call. So something happened to me in my life where it kind of jolted me out of my drifting and caused me to evaluate life and approach it much more intentionally. He had his wake-up call. It seems like his wake-up call was going through the family court system. So a lot of times, unfortunately, it takes a wake-up call to get on the right track. Sometimes that wake-up call happens a little bit earlier for people. Sometimes it happens a little bit later. And depending on what the wake-up call is, there could be bigger, smaller or bigger ramifications. And so some are easier to overcome, some are harder to overcome. So anyway, wish the best for this guy. And yeah, if you made this fun video, I appreciate it. Feel free to give it a like, to subscribe. And until next time, make not just smart financial decisions, but smart decisions in general and live life intentionally. All right, thanks guys.